There are three practical ways school leaders can push for focus. Number one is to accentuate the positive, to advocate strongly and proactively with the relevant constituencies for purposes one values rather than against those one doesn't. Two, and this builds on Schlechty's observation, that good leaders ask not just what needs to be done and that is not being done now, but also what can we quit doing so that we can do what we need to do. And number three, stretch out timelines of individual items, especially for recurrent improvement projects such as curriculum implementations.
Continuity is essential because change causes so much loss. People are ready to respond to the case for reform only after they've been unfrozen. That is when they are de-stressed because disconforming data has caused them to acknowledge problems in their performance. When leaders can explain change in clear, focused terms and connect innovation to long-standing values that matter to constituents, reaffirming whenever possible the school's traditional principles and qualities, they link staff, the new with the old, and bear the uncertainties and losses of change. Two leaders that embody this concept are President Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr.
Paralysis in the educational workforce can be damaging for positive change. Change can have the same ability to paralyze your subject in education in the same way that Medusa has on her prey. Educational leaders can defeat the magical ability of paralysis by lopping off the Gorgon's head, writhing with resistance.
Participation is extremely complex. It can embroil schools in controversy, exhaust participants, and hamper efforts to reform instructional programs. Participation and collegiality. School as a community, a democratic community governed by its members, an intellectual community of lifelong learners, and in some cases, a moral community sharing a covenant of values. This emphasizes individual potential, the notion that all teachers have the potential to be leaders. To accomplish this transformation, traditional management is to be replaced by shared governance, and traditional teacher isolation by collaboration and collegiality. These can be accomplished through site-based management and collaborative structures. A collaborative structure is where teachers work together by observing one another's class, team teaching, designing interdisciplinary curriculum, and reflect together. Collegiality denotes a collaborative work culture in which teachers talk regularly and seriously about their practice. Complexity. When the level of trust or readiness is low, trying to initiate change through extensive participation is not only futile, it can exasperate tensions. Top-down autocrats have their blind spots, and so do bottom-up staff who have had little exposure to the big picture of governing an entire school. There's sometimes lack of aptitude and experience. Shared leadership, shared decision-making. It enables ideas to move both up and down the organization. True participatory leadership is binary. You can start where there's an interest or opportunity and build from there, looking to invite and encourage and include as you go. This helps with clarity about decision-making, informal outreach, seek informal opportunities for staff to assume leadership roles. It fosters participation and collaboration, creates opportunities for growth and community building.
The search for mythical tiny creatures has been just as eluding as educators being respectful and kind to one another in public education. Fairies like to hang out around schools and playgrounds and have theorized themselves on the impact of kindness and recognition to one another to arrest the resistance to change.
Evans suggests that the least expensive and largest impact on educational performance is boosting morale and climate for change, even more so than decreased class size. Meaningful recognition among educators according will increase efficacy of change.
The disjunction in educational improvement is that educators like to focus on collaboration collaboration and collegiate sharing, but tend to give praise only to individuals. A good leader focuses on morale and sharing it to groups and units.
You know, recognition refers to praise or positive feedback. It enhances communication and trust, plus promotes future effort for building self-esteem and self-confidence.
Hey, we're not talking about the feely-good, warmy-fuzzy crap, but kindness and respect toward actions and efforts and achievements.
Schools have double standards for showering recognition on children and not on staff. PTA-sponsored lunches for teacher appreciations and birthday recognitions are nice, but they are not a substitute for true professional recognition. And also, one should not focus on the individual, but on the teamwork.
Good and evil has been a part of Earth's existence since the birth of man. This constant battle of confrontation is a natural part of the human side of change. Is there a way to avoid avoidance?
It depends on the form of the resistance, whether it's indifferent or incompetence or sabotage, and on the number, strength, and posture of the resistors, whether they are few or many, weak or strong, quiet or noisy. It also depends on the many other factors. Exceptional resistance is opposition that is not based on principle or is marked by strong boundary-breaking violation of school priorities or chronic misunderstanding and non-fulfillment of these priorities. School leaders generally prefer to minimize friction and discord, overlooking them when they can, finessing and fudging them when they can't. The most common form of avoidance is compromise as a way to manage change. It means retreat and it masks underlying discord.
Immune to performance appraisal, absent any clout on the part of the evaluator. No fear, thanks to tenure. When termination is not an option, then one could consider forcible transfer, seduction, try to cultivate and convert their naysayers, and voodoo death, making them so miserable they decide to leave. The unfreezable, successful negative feedback. They exert a strong drag on innovation. It takes time to move them in a positive direction, and progress is likely to be modest at best.
Laura, who opened up the box that she was supposed to have kept closed forever, only one small voice was heard inside her box, and that was hope. But in the human side of school change, we also have experience left in our chest.
Of all the factors to improving schools, none is more essential or vulnerable than hope.
There is a natural tension between policy and practice. Policy can serve as a helpful goad, sometimes something that urges or stimulates into action, and also a stimulus to practice. The triumph of hope. It derives from the power of the ideas, purposes, and values they stand for.